Okay, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about miracles, and particularly how miracles are relevant to the arguments against theism of David Hume and Richard Dawkins. Hume and Dawkins are popular authors well known for their outspoken atheism, so we're going to look at exactly what role miracles play in their thinking. In the big picture, you can think about Hume and Dawkins as taking two different approaches to explaining miracles. You have the evolutionary biologist in Richard Dawkins taking the biological origin of life-based approach, and you can consider Hume as taking the traditional religion-based approach, specifically pulling from biblical text to further his argument. Now let's take a look at exactly what these two works are saying. Now David Hume is an interesting example because he was an atheist before atheism was really even established. He wrote in his book, An Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding, a section dedicated entirely to the consequences of miracles, titled Of Miracles, and he breaks it down into two parts. Part one of Hume's argument is an understanding what a miracle is and how they should be approached. He does this by giving a brief overview of what is essentially scientific procedure for analysis. His example is of an experiment done 100 times, getting one result 99 times and the other result once. Now, he says that the consistency of these results allow you to logically expect the result that occurred 99 times, but that if you were to get a 70-30 or a 60-40 split of the 100 trials, you'd have less cause to expect one result over the other. And his point here is that people do this really all the time whenever they choose to believe anything. So then Hume focuses in on exactly what a miracle really is, and he calls it a violation against the laws of nature. Well, what does that mean exactly? Hume tries to explain it a little bit better by giving an example of a man dying very suddenly and inexplicably. Most people would be very surprised, but they would eventually move past it because it's known to happen, just not very often. But if a man were to suddenly come back to life, well, now that would be a violation of the laws of nature because nobody has ever seen this happen. This is really the difference between marvelous and miraculous, according to Hume. But this leaves us with a bit of a paradox, because if something goes against everything we know, then how are we expected to believe it? And this is really the point of this whole scenario that Hume is giving here. So now Hume says that if you encounter a miracle, one of three things is true. One, somebody is telling you of a supposed miracle, but what they believe is false. Two, someone is informing you of something that they know is false and are trying to mislead you. Or three, the miracle is real and something against the laws of nature did happen. Now, establishing these three choices is really the purpose of part one of Hume's entire argument, after which he goes into part two of his argument to break down these choices and answer this question: what is the least probable to occur? Hume cites in a number of examples from the past and in society of how people basically deceive and lie all the time. He gives a scenario of people spreading a marriage rumor, telling everyone they know about what they heard without ever fact-checking it. But an intelligent person checks the truth of something before passing it on. He considers that the people also lie and deceive to gain power, especially in governments throughout history. You can look at Alexander the Great or Joseph Stalin just to name a couple. But all this is just to emphasize the high likelihood of somebody trying to convince you of something that's a lie. Now, Hume's next point is that people are emotional, and so the truth is that they aren't always entirely logical in their deciding to believe something or not. They have preferences and sometimes want to believe things even if they don't seem terribly likely. And this is one of the big influences of religion, is that people believe that things are for holy causes, so they're more likely to disregard logic. So what Hume leads his entire argument to is this idea that it is foundational to religion that no human testimony should have such force as to prove a miracle. In other words, the probability of a person being deceived or a person deceiving are both far higher than the probability of a miracle actually occurring. Well, why is this foundational? Because religion is all based on huge miracles that religion and prophets and preachers and all these religious associates teach. Since it is least likely that miracles actually be truth, Hume says that logically you have to think that either the religious teachers are deceived or are trying to deceive. Evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins views miracles in a very different way, but he still seems to consider them part of a larger argument against religion. He discusses miracles in a chapter of his book The Blind Watchmaker titled Origins and Miracles, where he closely ties the origin of life to miracles. Now, right out of the gates, Dawkins calls miracles very unlikely events that somehow occur against all odds. So how does the origin of life play a role in this? Dawkins explains its significance in 3 points. The first thing he addresses is cumulative complexity, meaning complex things arise from small changes to simpler things that eventually make them complex. For something complex like DNA to be replicated, you need what Dawkins calls complex machinery, meaning enzymes and proteins that are already established. But this complex machinery has to have been originated by something. Dawkins points out that some claim that complex machinery was established by a higher power. But Dawkins' point is for God to have intelligently designed something complex. You have this paradox where he would have to have been at least equally complex. So then Dawkins starts running a bunch of numbers to show how much luck is needed for life to form. In other words, how miraculous is it? He comes up with this spontaneous generation probability, that the chance of life will originate on any given planet, which he guesses to be something like 1 in a billion. Well, 1 in a billion seems really small until you realize that there is figured to be 100 billion planets in the universe, and that there's about 1 billion years worth of time in which life could have originated. But he also considers that the chances are lowest of finding what you have here on Earth, which is life intelligent enough to speculate on its own origins. So to find the probability of obtaining both, you have to multiply the probability of life arising and the probability of it evolving the necessary intelligence. And this is going to give you a very low probability. Now, this is very important because according to Dawkins, low probability is exactly what we need in our explanation. He says that what humans think of as miracles is all based on how plausible they believe something is based on their experiences. Well, in the context of the size and age of the universe, the window of human experience is pretty small considering our 80 to 100 year lifespan on a single planet. And so perception of what is a long time is really no time at all in the scheme of the universe. In fact, if the probability of life was even close to what we consider plausible, life would probably be found almost once every solar system, and with the space exploration that's been done, we almost definitely would have discovered it by now. So with limited plausibility, as limited as plausibility is, it's no wonder life seems like a miracle. And to Dawkins, this indicates it is completely possible that life came about miraculously, but without some sort of divine intervention. Now, so after looking at Hume's of miracles and Dawkins' origins of miracles, what do miracles really mean for religion? Well, I think that although each define miracles in a different way, when they actually start to discuss miracles in the context of human experience, they agree that they are events thought to be impossible according to the laws of nature, and that are strong evidence against truth for religion. And I can argue for this a bit more later, but for now I'm out of time. So I hope you understand the basics of David Hume and Richard Dawkins a bit better after this discussion. Thanks for watching.